Do you ever find yourself sitting down to look something up real quick? Maybe you're looking for a new dishwasher,
So you Google best dishwashers, and the next thing you know, it's dark outside.
right? We're sitting like 4 hours later and you've read 47 articles, watched like 3 YouTube videos, and joined a Reddit community about what it takes to become a master plumber.
Yet you still haven't made a decision because you're not quite sure you have enough information.
If you can relate, let's open a few more tabs on that laptop because this episode is for you.
Today, we're talking about how women with ADHD can fall down research rabbit holes and why it feels productive and responsible and also completely derails our lives.
This is Angry on the Inside. I'm Jess.
And I'm Jeannine. We're both certified ADHD coaches, but this podcast isn't coaching.
It's not therapy or medical advice.
It's real, honest conversations about being women with late diagnosed ADHD and everything that goes along with it.
So take what resonates and leave the rest. Here's what it looks like. You sit down to look up one thing without the intention of collecting a new Hyperfocus. We're just looking for a book, maybe a water bottle, a laptop. Take your pick of the lot. Like literally anything can hold the space. And 4 hours later, you've created a spreadsheet.
Color coded with weighted scoring categories. One of those.
That's some sexy talk. But yeah, that's the one. And you still haven't made a decision.
Of course not. How do you know that there's not some crucial piece of information out there that you just haven't found yet?
Is there ever enough information, or is this a form of procrastination?
Most of the time, we're compensating for our working memory, your brain's mental whiteboard. It's where you hold information while you're actively using it. For a lot of people, that whiteboard is pretty reliable.
Yes, for a lot of people. I would say not for me because I feel like I can walk out of the conference room in my mind to get a snack, come back, and some asshole has come along and wiped that whole thing off.
I know exactly what you mean. I'll look up something, I will read it carefully, and then just gone. Worse, I may or may not remember that I did all that research.
Most times, I don't remember if I've left it alone for a few days, thus the cleared off whiteboard. So what I do is go back and then re-research and relearn everything that I already spent umpteen hours researching, collecting data on. I have to go back because I don't remember my notes. I don't understand what I put on my Post-its. And I somehow closed out that one browser that had my 40,000 tabs on it, even though I managed to leave it open long enough to have 40,000 tabs. It's a bit of a conundrum. Um, we go through and we double check something. We start this path again, this rabbit hole, and it's slightly related, and then a slightly different angle. Then we are coming at it from a different direction because we truly feel that there is more information that can be had. You have to understand everything in its entirety completely and become sort of a pseudo expert from that ADHD lens. Because if you can't fully trust that your brain understands everything about everything on this new topic, you compensate by gathering as much information as possible.
And it's not irrational, it's protective. It's like if I can't rely on my memory, I will rely on volume.
That is the God's honest truth. I will rely on that. Part of the way that we gather all this information, and like I said, we sort of become those pseudo experts, is because we want to make sure anything that we say to someone else is accurate.
Yes.
We don't ever want to give other people bad or incorrect information. Like if we get one little thing wrong, we are so embarrassed or even to the level of humiliated with some stuff. Or it might also flow into sort of that idea of our hyper independence that a lot of us tend to lean into. I don't want to ask anybody for their opinions because I don't want to feel like they're judging me. After I've said something, I'll feel like I'm being critiqued or edited or something like that. Yeah, it's a bit of a snowball effect.
Yeah, you know what? Until you said that, I never thought about why that was. And that made complete sense. My family the other day, doing research, finding out some information. And then as I'm trying to explain to them why I know what I'm talking about, there is that little voice. Is that what I remember it saying? And then you start questioning yourself. And I think I did. It was like, okay, well, you guys do whatever you think is best.
I have experienced that scenario. That little bit of self-doubt comes in. That research tome that you had sitting under your arm is now null and void, even though you still probably know more about the topic than everybody else in the room.
But if you feel like you don't say exactly how, like, you read it or wrote it down, then you're like, "Yeah, what the hell are you talking about?" Yeah,
They know that we know.
exactly. And if you don't do that, you'll ruminate on it for the rest of the night.
You really wanna just stand, like, on a table in a room at a party and be like, "I shall not give false information." And then you, like, read off the tomes of things that you wanna make sure that everybody is absolutely sure about for no reasons but your own.
And I know I was telling you that story about how it was raining on Friday, and I really meant to say Thursday. I want you to know that I know it wasn't raining on Friday because I don't want you going around thinking I didn't know. So I'm telling you right now, I said Friday, I meant Thursday.
Then let's make sure we apologize and say sorry 47 times to make sure that we cover all of our trauma that we have yet to heal. High five trauma response. Let's do this. Our next segment should be called Jess and Jeannine took 8 months to buy laptops and another 3 months to take them out of the box and maybe another month to turn them on. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And yet I've still got a laptop that doesn't have one of the main features I wanted.
Was it the 10 touch keypad?
It was. But I can design computer games on it.
Sweet.
Yeah, because I'm going to do that at some point. I don't know. But it has the ability to do it. It just doesn't have the frickin' 10 keypad that I use all the time.
Right. But if you were bored one day and you started looking at it, I bet with your hyperfocus, you could actually create a computer game. You could totally do that, right? It only takes one good rabbit hole for you to fall down to be able to create a game on your laptop.
I just want that damn 10 pad. What is it called?
10 touch keypad?
Yes, that thing.
10 touch keypad.
Now I'm going to hear your voice in my head singing that every time I go for my non existent keypad.
10 touch keypad. When it came to having to get laptops, I needed one. And then a few months later, Jeannine needed one. And when I say need, like we could not do this podcast without new laptops. And we both went down our own separate little rabbit holes. I was doing therapy topics about getting a freaking laptop. That is the level of choice paralysis that I had reached. I'm calling up IT people I used to know like 10 years ago because I don't want to have to become an expert on this. And yet I'm trapped becoming an expert on the laptop that I'm going to buy. And after, for real, like multiple months of hyperfixation on this, I got an email from Best Buy about a laptop that was on sale. And I got up that morning, went and purchased it. I took all this time researching, trying to shuffle through all this information that I've shoved into my head. And I'd reached a level of overwhelm where it only took one email for me to go and drop $1,000 that I didn't really have on a laptop that I actually needed that didn't actually have all the stuff I needed.
If you start paying attention to the stuff that's not important, I don't need to be able to make high quality video games, but somehow I never even noticed that it didn't have the 10 number keypad.
10 touch keypad.
Like, how did I miss that? That was because my brain was being filled with a bunch of stuff.
Another really crappy side effect of going down a rabbit hole for any new item, hyperfixation, whatever. It's the emails that you will be looking at for the next 5 to 10 years in your Gmail because of all the different places that you're signing up for to get information and to be able to read articles and to get coupons and discount codes because you're building out a world here. You're building out a world where Jess and Jeannine get the absolute perfect best deal on the perfect laptop to be delivered to their front door.
Which is so frustrating. All that time and you still don't kinda get it right. You know what? It's Best Buy's fault. They should have sent you that email months before when everything feels important. Nothing feels clear. So you keep looking, trying to find that perfect answer. Complete clarity never comes because you're sorting through all this information that your brain couldn't filter it out. Yeah. All of our ADHD symptoms like to work together. They feed on each other.
For being so disjointed with certain things, I do find it amazing how all of my symptoms come together like Wonder Twin powers. They just activate. My brain is telling me that if I just gather enough information, if I can just be enough of an expert, I will not mess this up.
Doing all that research, it feels responsible. It actually feels very productive. You're getting work done. You're being a responsible, good adult. But then I don't know where to stop.
You know, when you stop, analysis paralysis. That word is so much fun to say, but it just screws you so terribly over. It just screws you over every time. You need so much certainty before you can act on something that you literally can't act on anything.
I had a work project where I needed to turn in a draft, and I had spent so much time researching what I wanted to include in this presentation that by the time I needed to turn it in, I didn't have a presentation, but I had a bunch of notes about how I was going to do it. And, um, so you feel like you're moving forward. You feel like you're accomplishing something, and which at risk avoidance. You want to make sure you have all the answers. You become the expert.
We hadn't talked much about risk avoidance until we did that bonus episode on the Olympics. I was reading, they were saying that typically the solution with the least assumptions tends to be the best one. And I had never heard that before. I wonder if I can kind of implement that in when I'm in these moments, when I'm avoiding the risk, when I'm avoiding just dealing in the moment, because I've just reached this point of analysis paralysis, which we could play a drinking game with that word. It's so much fun to say. Um, and I think it's really interesting with ADHD, we can all be so impulsive, and yet there's these other parts of us that can just slam on the brakes to avoid anything and everything that is coming at us.
It makes no sense. I'm every day is a different day.
Right? I love being a conundrum. Don't get me wrong. I love me some research. It is one of my favoriteest things. It is a dopamine hit like no other. When you start leaning into that new hyperfocus, you just want to know everything.
Once our ADHD brains get interested in something, it's hooked.
Mhm. Next thing you know, you've learned everything about medieval trebuchets, which is actually pretty helpful.
You'll have to explain to me what one of those are. And
It's one of those little medieval rock slingy thingies that goes around in a big circle, and they use it for punkin' chunkin'.
oh, well, there you go.
Do you guys have that where you live? Do you guys have
No, I
pumpkin
don't think
field?
so. I take it
Oh,
that's when you like sling a pumpkin and watch it explode when it hits the ground.
yes. Yes. That's a good time.
Is beer involved?
It could be, but I don't drink.
I'm best guessing. It's very useful information. It could be the final Jeopardy question,
That'd be cool.
but it does feel so good to be excited about something. I really do like that feeling. And then you want to talk with other people about it, and they don't want to even know about those medieval whatever they are.
Eventually, it does abruptly end. You have a bunch of tabs open and no memory of your original focus.
Because you found something more exciting to focus on.
God, I just love the way things connect. I think that's also something that doesn't get mentioned enough is it's part of our pattern recognition as well. Because we love to make everything, touch everything and be like, oh, wait, but I have an interesting perspective of this. Hold on a second while I give you a 15-minute tutorial.
I think this is why we're not good at small talk.
Small talk is so painfully boring. And it makes me sad that we have to learn it,
How much can you talk about the frickin' weather?
right? Ugh.
Anyway, I think though what's really at the core of this is control. Our brains feel chaotic, unpredictable. Feeling really prepared feels stabilizing.
We're falling into that defensive position before anyone's even coming at us. If I research enough, there isn't anything that's going to pop up that's going to surprise me. If I know everything, I'm not going to look stupid. If I can anticipate all of these problems, everything's going to be okay. That's people pleasing behavior. That's fight, flight, all those good things. We're revving up to keep ourselves safe. But what we're actually doing is using up a whole bunch of energy to wade through a bunch of information that we're not going to end up using in the way that we really want to when it's all said and done. But it makes us amazing at trivia.
And also, it makes sense though for us to want to feel like we can put ourselves in that best situation. We know everything. You can't surprise us. We're the experts. If you grew up feeling like you were always missing something that everyone else seemed to naturally understand, of course we're trying to protect ourselves.
Research definitely can become armor in those situations. There may be a few people out there that are rolling their eyes and saying, you should just stop researching. But we all know that's not a realistic solution.
Definitely not. And honestly, research is one of our strengths. Depth of knowledge is not a flaw. The issue is when thorough turns into endless.
For me personally, the easiest way to stop endless is to interrupt. I do set an actual timer. The problem is remembering to set it in front of me before I sit down to do what is not meant to be a 5-hour marathon of hyperfocusing. We could decide in advance what criteria matters, but the only filters I actually adhere to is when I'm on realtor.com trolling houses that I can never afford. I'm working on it in therapy right now, learning to reach the point of good enough instead of the absolute all-knowingest being in the universe on said topic.
Which is still so tempting, but yes, not very healthy and not very productive. It's important to ask yourself, am I looking for information or reassurance? Because if it's reassurance, more data will not fix that.
The goal is to pull your information, enjoy that bit of dopamine, but not to take it to the level that you become unable to function. You can love your brain without fully trusting your brain, but not trusting your brain is what makes you end up going down these rabbit holes that are endless in the first place. If you're going to draw the line in your brain, do it in chalk. That way, you always know you can move it. We all have to be Alice every now and again. Jump down the rabbit hole, but make sure to leave a trail of breadcrumbs on your way down because you're going to find coping strategies with this that do work until they don't. And that's okay. Recognizing your pattern. We love the pattern, recognize it. Understand when those coping strategies stop working. And when they stop working, realize it's okay to stop doing them. You don't have to make them work. That will just put you in a paralysis that you don't want to be in.
If you're currently listening while you're also comparing three different dishwashers,
Have someone else pick one for you. And when you're disappointed at the one they pointed at, go ahead and buy the one you actually wanted to begin with.
well, I thought you could blame them if it didn't work out then, but that's probably not healthy.
You
Like, you made me pick this dishwasher.
option. If you
Yeah.
choose to go with their actual selection rather than the one you actually wanted that you realized after they told you which one to pick, then yeah, you're going to make them pay for it and there's no getting around it. Not healthy, but it's actual.
If they would let you do more research, you would have found the right one. That's not really what we're trying to accomplish here, is it?
If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who has just as many tabs open as you do.
Until next time, remember, you're not alone, and you're not the only one who's angry on the inside.